In today's episode, we'll take a look at the engine that Marcus put into the beautiful Pontiac Fiero, and we'll go for a little cruise around Mississauga. Welcome everybody to Classic Car ChitChat. My name is Kevin. If this is the first time you're coming to my channel, then welcome. I really appreciate you coming here today. If you've been here before, then thank you for coming back. Thank you always for the feedback and the comments you leave, the thumbs up, and certainly for your subscribing. It really does mean a lot to me. Let's be clear, today is episode 2. Episode 1 was the one last week where we got an introduction to Marcus's Fiero. Now, I gotta address something. I know the video ended abruptly, and many of you left comments like within hours of it being posted about, well, where's the rest of the video? And I really didn't understand it, thinking, well, yeah, it's gonna be episode 2 next week. And then when I saw what actually got posted on YouTube, I quickly realized the problem was that when I had uploaded the video, for whatever reason, the last 30 seconds got cut out. So what was posted on YouTube was missing that last portion, which explained that this is the end of episode 1 and episode 2 is coming next week. So my apologies for that. I will actually throw that in so you see exactly what I was trying to say. The other thing that I do want to address is that comment that, I don't know who the heck said, that the Fiero was a poor man's Ferrari. I think that's totally out to lunch, personally. I think the Fiero is an incredible mid-engine car that GM built, and I wish they continued building that car because it is extraordinary and it's a beautiful car. And my hat's off to Marcus and all the Fiero lovers out there for keeping this little girl alive. So without further ado, let's hop into episode 2 and take a look at Marcus's Pontiac Fiero, and we'll go for a little drive as well.
Cars actually have a roof rack, so you can put like luggage on the back and stuff like that. Yeah. Not very common in the GTs, but it does exist.
Can we take a look at the engine?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me pause the video right here. I personally have the attention span of a goldfish, and I'm not really a fan of long videos on YouTube. So please do join me again in the next episode where you'll get to see that the Pontiac Fiero is not a poor man's Ferrari, but an iconic car all by itself.
Absolutely, man.
All right.
But I had a friend of mine that was stopped by the police, and he wanted to see if his car had a catalytic converter.
Oh,
so he stood at the front of the car. He said, "Open up the hood," and he's like, "Okay." And he's like looking. He goes, "You know the engine's in the back." He goes, "Oh, I know that." And he walked to the back. But
just checking it out.
A lot of people don't know it. You could, and there's people who've been putting engines in the front, but the car has an engine in the back.
Wow.
So there's my engine. This is from a 1997 Pontiac Grand Prix, and the bottom end is 97. The top end's from an 05 Grand Prix, and it has the more efficient supercharger, the Gen 5. As I said before, transmission's from it's a 5-speed, but that's actually from a Cavalier. And it made it perfectly to the engine. It holds up.
Did you do all the work?
I did the majority of this work myself. I had some great friends help me along the way. The Fiero community has some fantastic people that, when you own a Fiero, not many people know how to work on a Fiero. So you got to always challenge yourself and learn how to work on these cars. So this here, was my challenging project that I wanted to accomplish, self-fulfillment for me.
So why the Fiero? What brought you to the Fiero?
You know what? That's a very interesting question. I had a neighbor on my street that had a Fiero, and it was a 2M6 Nachi. Yeah. I always liked it. But what really wanted me to buy it one day, when I was about 12, I walked into Costco, and I saw one of these on a hoist. Okay. It was an 88, it was burgundy with the gold wheels, and I said to my dad, I want one of these days, yeah. And then, almost 25 years later, I thought it was time, and I found the right one for me.
You know what's funny? When I look at the tail, I used to have an 84 Trans Am.
Okay.
And they're so similar.
Very similar. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
Like begged, stealed, and borrowed from the other Pontiacs.
You know what? Like GM, the Fiero has a lot of original stuff on it, but there's a lot of stuff that GM did to save money, and they borrowed from other cars. In 88, the headlight motors were the same ones on the Trans Am. And I do believe a lot of the interior switches, I don't know which ones, I think the headlight one is very similar to the Trans Am, so there is some things they
Some
borrowed from
similarities.
that car.
Even the rocker switches look kind of familiar. There is something.
Steering
about
wheel
that.
is very similar as well.
Yeah.
But
I love the dials though, like the detail, even the center dials with the oil pressure and the
I love the
battery.
look of it. I love the look.
Definitely.
Some guys you can buy digital kits to change out to digital dash.
Oh, God.
I had one of those kits. It looked really nice, but I like the old style. I didn't want to change it.
What's in the front then? How much space is there?
Oh, you'll see. So if you look here at the back, just kind of give you a comparison. This is the only trunk space you're going to get. This is it.
Oh, really?
This is it.
So what's in the front?
Spare tire and a radiator, and that's it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But you can store stuff in the front. So interesting thing enough, a lot of people don't know the coolant system runs through the underneath of the car. And I'm not entirely sure on the top of my head, but I believe the MR2, the rad was in the rear on it. But in this car, they made it a whole system where the rad was at the front. Interesting enough, these cars, when you bring them to a mechanic, you want to jack it up on a lift or whatever. A lot of these cars, they get damaged because the coolant tube runs underneath the car. They put the hoist on it and they crush them. So there's only certain spots where you can lift it. Yes. And that's one of the weird quirks about a Fiero, but a lot of the Fiero owners do know that.
What is in this vinyl case? What is that?
So this is a sunroof shade.
Oh, really?
So you can insert it inside here.
Yeah.
So if you want to have a little bit of shade when you're driving the car and you have a sunroof, you can't obviously get rid of it. This is a great little addition. And I have never really used it, but I just wanted it to complete the car.
Why not?
Yeah. And inside here, just got spare tire. And I know friends here that they put tools in here and stuff like that. And
so the original color of this car?
It's still the original color. Okay. Still the original color, just the bottom part would have been gray on the original 86.
Okay. And what is the name of this color? Do you know?
This car is called, I believe it's called Bright Red. This color, they made it until 86, and then halfway through 86, they switched to a different variant of red, which was a little bit more orangier in color.
And they called it Bright Red? Nothing a little bit sexier than that?
No, it was just called Bright Red. No race red, no cherry red.
No blaze red like this thing or anything? Okay.
Yeah, GM was pretty basic with their names. Maybe there's other people out there that may know other appropriate names they called it, but so far I know it was just called Bright Red. This was actually an aftermarket option at GM, and it's called a Holly Scoop. I never seen any performance out of it, but it's supposed to add more airflow into the car while you're driving because the intake is on this side. Okay. I've never seen any performance difference, but I like it because it looks really cool. It adds a little bit of performance to the car look, as they say.
I like how the gas cap just fits right in there. It's kind of tucked away.
Interesting enough, so you're probably wondering how do you open it. There's a little switch behind here.
Oh, wow.
And you push the little switch, and it opens it up, and it's a little hidden little door. Yeah, and it closes
So what do you put in it? Just premium unleaded?
So the 3800 engine, I have to put premium, so 91 and above. I have to, or you'll start knocking or something like that. Yeah. But the original engine ran an 87, no problem.
Oh, she's absolutely beautiful.
You know, the hardest part of this when I did the swap on it, like the other engine used to leak oil all the time, and I said to myself, I think it's time. And once the engine comes out, I said I wasn't going to come back in, and I thought I'd do something bigger and something more fun.
And you did it all in your garage at home?
I did this all in my garage at home, yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
A labor of love, for sure.
Man,
right?
I took this engine out, so this was my COVID project. And
yes. There's some good things that came out of it.
And literally, I was working on this slowly, and then about March last year, I said to myself, I think it's time. And my buddy Josh and Manny, they came over and they helped me drop the engine. Fiero, believe it or not, how you traditionally drop the engine is actually underneath the car.
Oh.
So a lot of people pull an engine out of the car.
Yeah.
So what you do, you have to lift up the car, so they're using like a hoist or something. Yeah. You build like a little dolly that goes underneath, and then you drop this on top of the dolly, and you can slide it out and push it in. So it's a very unique way, but it's actually a lot easier than I thought.
Good for you. I love the fins. Like the detail is really, really cool on this car.
Well, something cool, the original car had actually another guard under here, and it was like to keep leaves out. Yeah. But for the amount of heat this engine bay gets hot.
I bet.
And what I did, I actually unriveted it out. A lot of Fiero guys do it just because more airflow in. Yeah. Yes, you can get rain and leaves inside, but I never drive it when it rains.
I'm with you, so yes, I know what that means.
But I've noticed it dramatically cooled down the engine. Wow. I'll show you something else. Yeah. If you look here, see these tubes?
Yeah.
Okay, these tubes that stick out. In 1980, so it was basically from 1985 to 1987. 88, they didn't have them. They added a cooling system in the car. So what it did, there's a little fan in the corner in here, and it'll pump cold air from the outside onto the ignition coil and onto the alternator. and there's two of them, 1 and 2, okay? And it was designed to keep those components cold because they would really heat up. Right. And it did a good job, but eventually, you know, as friction would do, they would eventually fail, but again, it would prolong their life significantly. But then in 1988, they made some significant changes where they added a fan onto the alternator, and then the coil, they pretty much stayed the same. I guess they just thought they didn't need it anymore.
Cool.
But
no, it doesn't have air conditioning or anything, does it?
This car has air conditioning.
Interesting.
I haven't hooked it up yet.
Okay. Now, what about these covers here?
Yeah, actually, my buddy Bob Cumpson gave me these. They were from his car. If you have actually a chance to look on YouTube, it's called Who Killed the Pontiac Fiero, and he's one of the first people to do a 3800 swap.
I'll put a link on that on my channel.
Yeah. It's
you know what? People have said that. I didn't know what it meant, but now I do. So
great guy, and he gave me these covers, and I thought they really matched the car a lot better instead of painting it, you know.
There's also something magical about pop-up headlights.
Oh,
so you know
love the pop-up headlights.
It's my Trans Am. It just brings up memories.
Oh, yeah, love the pop-up headlights.
Beautiful.
Yeah, you know what? It's a fun car. I don't know what it is. My dad owns a Corvette, 73 Vet. I've driven around. I never had a single person ask me about it.
Okay, I want to see your dad then.
Sorry,
Marcus, no offense, but you should have brought him along too.
Sure, but you know what? The thing is, I get asked about this car almost all the time. Yeah. It's hilarious, and it's just more curiosity, or I think people know what it is. The most common one I always get is like, man, I haven't seen a Fiero in years.
Exactly.
And that's one. Yeah. The other urban myth about the Fiero, and people always say, oh, these caught on fire. These caught on fire. Yeah. And that's absolutely false, okay? When GM made the original 1984 Fiero, they had a 4-cylinder Iron Duke engine in it. And what happened, to fit in the car, they actually had to make the oil pan a little smaller. And when they made the oil pan a little bit smaller, the engine ran a quart low on oil. So what happened, these engines, if it ran low on oil, then it would catch on fire. It would the oil would overspill and it would break a rod, what may have you. Yep. A lot of people know the story a little better than I do. But in the end, it had a reputation that all the Fieros caught on fire. Of the 340,000 that they made, less than 100 actually had that flaw that caused the fires.
So it became a bit of an urban legend after a while.
But originally, actually, GM, it took them a long time to figure out the problem. I'll show you here. One of the common things that GM did, they thought they were solving the problem, but it actually didn't do anything. Here, there's a weather stripping, okay? And GM removed it as part of the recall, and they thought that it was somehow creating the fires, like basically it was taking air out, like it wasn't allowing the heat to escape the car or whatever may have you. So GM, part of the recall, they thought it was fixing the fires, they would remove this weather stripping. So it's actually a quite rare thing to have a Fiero with that weather stripping at the back.
Interesting, and they thought that was the solution?
They thought it was a solution to the problem, but it turned out it was only the 4-cylinder Iron Dukes in '84 that actually had the problem.
You say that word, Iron Duke, what does that mean? Is that the
Iron Duke was the engine, the 4-cylinder engine. The Iron Duke engine was used in a wide variety of GM cars, mail trucks, other Pontiac vehicles used it, other GM vehicles used it as well. It was a workhorse engine. It wasn't performance, it was economy. That's what it was, you know. In 1986, I think this was one heck of a design. And it was years ahead of the competition.
Even today, it's a bit of a head turner. I mean, it's a combination of a Ferrari, a 300ZX, and everything else, right? So
I would say probably this is one of the most maybe European feeling GM cars that they ever made.
So that's the question then. Do you know who designed it? Was it an Italian?
So it actually wasn't an Italian. It was actually a Turkish gentleman.
Oh,
and his name was Halkiak Taki, but there was other gentlemen working on it. Yeah. He's unfortunately passed away several years ago, but he was one of the, I may say, important people in the design of this car. There's a lot of other people that were involved in the process, but he was, the father of the Fiero, as they say. So how this car actually was gone to production, and like I said, with the Iron Duke, it was advertised as a fun commuter car. Okay. And then when the community wanted something a little bit more, then GM gave them the ability to add the V6, the stock 2.8, which was a great engine transmission combo in it, right? But
beautiful car.
Thank you.
Shall we go for a little cruise?
Absolutely.
All right, let's do that.
All right.
That's a nice rumble.
Spin tech muffler.
Wow. Give it a little bit of a welly. Marcus, thank you, man.
Thank you
I
for
appreciate
having
it. Take care.
Thank you, sir.
Be safe, all right?
We'll keep each other in touch, okay?
No problem. Take care.